also, uh, once we work with the fusion community for some time. At the beginning, we don't have much experience, but later on we found that okay, there are some part that we can contribute. For example, now we start to develop some of the diagnostic system, like a neutron detector, or some part of which uh, I think that we work together with the global north, and then they we can install this into their system. Like we have a good collaboration with NIF in Japan or ASAP in China. And once we learn together with them, and then we develop our detector, then we start to install in their machine. And that is another the more advanced way that we work together between our country, our researcher, with the leading institute. And that could play some more roles in the fusion community. So I think it can go step by step, but the easiest one could start with the capacity building with the young generation, and then once you get more experience, you can go into the higher level. And now we start to think about the forming the joint experiment between us and the ASIPP, and we are trying to do with other uh, institutes as well. But I think one of the key thing that we try to do once we form the agreement or the MOU with the research institute, that we try to create the mutual benefit between us, not just taking from them, but also trying the best we can. At the beginning, maybe we cannot uh, give them back a lot at the beginning, but later on, when we have more experience, then we start to share and put our efforts back to them. So I think this is a way that uh, every country can do, and I believe that for the global south in the Latin America, you could do the same, and I believe that you are doing similar to that as well.
Thank, thank you. Really, you have experience in produce a bridge in both direction. Thank you. Um, in your view, how can Thailand and similar countries in the global south participate effectively in the global fusion effort, both through scientific collaboration and also through the involvement in their industries?
Again, I think the way that we can contribute effectively is through the young generation, and I think we we try to train them, and then allow them to join in the bigger program. Right now, for example, in Thailand, now we once we train young generation, now we're trying to give them the opportunity to work at the ITER, so that they can learn in the bigger stage, and hope and we hope that they can continue their work with the ITER, so that they can contribute more in the advanced level.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Professor Sir Stephen Cowley, thank you very much to join again with us.
It's a
Many,
great honor. Yeah.
thank you. The honor is for us. Many talented students and scientists from Latin America and other regions of the global south migrate to the United States to pursue doctoral studies and research careers. From your perspective, how do you evaluate their contribution to the development of science and technology in the United States? And how do you see the contribution of the United States to their home countries during their stay abroad?
You know, I am, of course, I'm British, but I came to America to do a PhD in 1981. and I've spent half my career there, half my career in the UK. And so this business of talent moving around in the scientific world, I think is a very positive thing. But the danger, obviously, is that you you lose some of your talent from your home country, and they don't go back to help develop the scientific infrastructure in their home country. But I watched, I was actually online watching the YouTube after my talk, and yesterday and some today, although my Spanish isn't good enough to understand the conversation very well. But it's clear that in Chile and in South America as a whole, there is a really fine plasma physics activity that is contributing on the fundamental level to the development of fusion. Some of the pulse power things, some of this heard from one of our young staff, Kajal, but also thinking of, the head of our advanced projects, Luis Delgado Aparicio, and Arturo Dominguez, who is a very prominent member of our staff, Vinicius Duarte. I think the question, though, puts that now we've got these talented people who come from their countries and they become prominent in the US. How can that be translated into helping benefit Chilean science or Peruvian science or Bolivian science? This is something that I think develops with time. I mean, we've seen it in fusion, different examples of how this works. Clearly, having your own set of experiments and your own institutes has become, we've seen very fine developments in that way. But joint projects becomes something that we need to figure out better. In the early days, for instance, of the Japanese fusion program, there was a Japanese team on their General Atomics D3D tokamak. And that was really a joint project at that time. I'd like to see how we could reach out from Princeton, maybe send people to do work on some of your experiments and have people from South America come to Princeton as a team, not just as an individual, but as a team to participate, because that way I think we build, an even deeper relationship between our scientific endeavors. But there's no question it's going well, right? I mean, I was just watching some great science from my desk here in Princeton.
Thank you. Thank you. In UK and in the United States and in Europe, national laboratories have close relations with private companies and industry. Could you explain how this collaboration works in practice? In addition, and how can these countries ensure that they also share in the benefit of ITER and the broader international effort, rather than remaining only on the margin of scientific and industrial development?
Oh, these are difficult questions. The first thing I would say is I think as we approach the beginning of actual ITER operations, and it's still a way away, we really need to start to pull in the whole of the world into the ITER experimental program. We have the ITER partners who've paid for building the device, but I think we need all the global talent we can get once we start operating that device. And so I would be very supportive, although it's not my choice, of course. I'd be very supportive to start work out different ways in which countries can join up and be part of the program. I know that there are some associate members of ITER, and I think that needs to grow because the machine will have a huge amount of data. It'll have a huge amount of physics to unravel, and I can't see why that should just be contained within the 7 ITER partners as they stand. But I'm talking out of turn because it's not my gift to give away. on that. Um, I do think that the expansion, something changed during COVID, which has, I think, been a very positive thing. There's a lot of negative things from COVID, but one of which is that we're beginning to have global seminars, not just conferences, because of Zoom, because of Google Meets, because of Microsoft Teams. We're able to have seminars that half the world watch. And the seminars that we put out at Princeton, for instance, for the journal Plasma Physics, can sometimes have 600, 700 people watching online, it's essentially a webinar. And I think this is bringing us together as a global community in ways that couldn't before, because it's not just when you go to a conference now that you hear the latest news from around the globe. You can hear it online at these in the middle of the COVID pandemic, in order for us to keep working at that time. So I think there's an opportunity now for global collaboration, because we've got used to this way of working, right? Which is a lot of my meetings, even with people inside the building now, are like this, and are not just, we have to go and meet and sit in a room with each other. And so I'd like to see that expand. I certainly would like to make a much more proactive partnership with the rest of the Americas, right? The global South on this continent, on continents, and because I'm just very impressed with the way plasma physics has grown all over Southern America.
Thank you. Really, you share some initiative that at present is working. Thank you. Ulises. Dr. Ulises Barres, Director of Latin American Center of Physics. You have defined scientific diplomacy as a central focus of your mandate at the club. And you have also played a key role in the creating of the Southern Wide Field Gamma Ray Observatory, SWGO. What can you tell us about this experience as a bridge between Latin America and the rest of the world?
Thanks, Leopoldo, for the question, and thanks for the other panelists for their speech. I would like to start from what they said. I think that this growing path of cooperation in the North-South world is fundamental. And in fact, it starts with capacity building in the Global South, and with the help of the more developed countries. And then as this collaboration progresses and we get to have these capacities in our countries, then we can start giving something back, no? And we can start cooperating in a more effective way, in a more two-way route of collaboration. I think that, for example, in South America, what's happening now with the Brazilian association to CERN, and also the Chilean eminent association to CERN is an example where we had groups for decades that have contributed as researchers to this laboratory. And now our countries have understood that the communities have matured, the scientific communities have matured to the point where we not only can contribute to the science that is done, but we can start developing instrumentation and also involve our industry into this process, which of course starts to be then beneficial to the country itself, because there is a return to the industrial development and technological development in our country. So I think this is an example of how this process can work fruitfully, and perhaps in the future with ITER, it could be the same, right? It could work the same way. I mean, our scientific community could mature to the point of contributing to the development of future upgrades or hardware to this machine, and then also involve our industrial sector. in the case of SWGO, this is a project for building what would be the largest ground-based gamma ray observatory. It will be made in Chile. With, it's expected to operate from the TeV to the PeV range, and would be the first of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. Chile was an inevitable choice in some sense, because we need to operate at 5,000 meters above sea level almost. So these experiments are extremely high altitude because we are observing the air showers created by cosmic rays or gamma rays. In our case, the Latin American community in this field, in astroparticle physics, is actually very mature. You, of course, know the example of the Pierre Roger Observatory, which is very successful in Argentina, but the history of physics in our continent more or less started, at least from the experimental side, with cosmic ray physics. No? So it has had several decades to develop. And with SWGO, I think, and Auger was at the basis of that, at least for us in Brazil, we had the opportunity to put on the table from the start, which doesn't happen very often, a proposal for a detector design for the experiment. So it's not very often that a South American or Latin American country, or a global South country in general, have the possibility of proposing a detector design for an experiment which is at the frontier of science. So this is what we did from the beginning in SWGO. Of course, this was not done alone. This project, this detector proposal was brewed for various years, almost a decade, even before SWGO started as a project with collaborators, especially in Portugal and Italy. And then this merged into a very large collaboration. But we continued pressing on. And I think what made the difference was the fact that, first of all, there is always a level of competition in these collaborations, and this is to the benefit of science. Yes, everybody has an idea, everybody has a proposal. We have to develop these proposals in, let's say, a competition in the positive sense, so that we try to push each other to go to the maximum in terms of cost effectiveness, of sensitivity of the detector. And then at a certain point, we have to make a decision, no? And of what technology to use in your observatory, in your instrument. And then something comes in which is very important, which is government support. So it's not enough that you have a good idea for an instrumentation, as we have had. If you don't have the possibility, first of all, to develop that in-house, you cannot expect that partners will push forward your technology for you. So this is something that we have to take responsibility for, and I think this goes on with the maturation of the community as well. And the real possibility of having investments to build this technology in the future. So in the case of Brazil, we engaged the national industry from the start. We had good partners in the industry that could respond to the challenge of the experiment. And at a certain point, we also guaranteed, we don't have the funds yet, but we guaranteed the serious intention or the serious commitment of the government to look for ways to fund that. So I guess these are the elements that can transform us into credible partners to the other countries. And in our case, this was fundamental for the acceptance of our design proposal into the observatory. So now we are in the process of securing these funds and discussing how to implement that, along with partners in the US that are making proposals also to the NSF and other partners in Europe, like the Max Planck Institute. But I think these three elements are very important. So we had the capacity that had been developed over decades in which we have been involved in this field. We had the conditions to not only propose an idea that would be developed in competition with other ideas within the collaboration, but to prototype that and take that forward with support of our institutions. And finally, at least the intention, serious intention of the government to commit to put funds to start the production of this detector with the involvement of the local industry, because this today is a sine qua non condition to get investment, at least in Brazil. If we cannot engage the industry, it's very hard that you're going to get large investment for any experiment that you want to do, and that makes sense. So I think that these three elements are very important, and I would say that this is the story behind what we have built with SWGO in Brazil.
Thank you. Some months ago, you visit Chile and you visit Antofagasta, to the place where we located the SWGO, and you visit also some industries. How was that experience?
Yes, this is a particular thing of, I mean, our detectors are very large things, and because we are talking about water tank of detector tanks. And these are things that our industry can produce, but they cannot be produced in Brazil because their transport to Chile would be much more expensive than the cost of the detector itself. So what we had to do was to find ways of continue engaging the national industry. Otherwise, there was no chance of having funds from our country. But to find a way to be able to produce these detectors close by the observatory site, which will be at the Atacama Desert at 5,000 meters above sea level. So what we did was to, first of all, engage with our industrial partners, and we took them to the Atacama, and we discussed and we investigated the possibility together with the Federation of Industries of Antofagasta, which is the capital of that region, to find opportunities for internationalizing the company, or at least in a first opportunity, to create a joint venture that would allow the Brazilian company to develop the detectors in Chile. And this was very successful. And this was also an instrument that resounded very positively with the government, because it's a way to use science to create cross-border economic partnerships with, in the region, and also to the industry, internationalize the Brazilian industry. So I think these elements came out quite nice in the case of SWGO, and this model has worked out. So we are pushing that forward.
Yeah. Related to the council of the SWGO, how many countries are, and from there, from where?
So we are 16 countries in total now, and 5 of them are from Latin America, which is another thing that we are trying to keep as such. I mean, in these large collaborations, at least in my field, it's very common that because Latin America has advantages from the geographical point of view to host these astroparticle physics experiments, usually many countries get excited when a new project comes up. But then there is the difficulty of continuing once you select the final site of the observatory. Yes, of course, it's not symmetric if you are the host of the experiment or if you are just another partner. So this is one of the challenges, and through CLAF we are trying to find solutions for that, of how to keep the other countries that have the scientific capabilities, want to be part of these projects and these adventures, but not having the site of the observatory, not contributing to the construction of the observatory directly. How can they justify the funding to remain in such projects? So we are looking for ways to do that. It's not an easy solution, but I believe that by doing so, we can slowly transform these large international experiments that are hosted in South America or in Latin America, transform them into being Latin American experiments. So where there is a large contingent of local institutions with, of course, the intention of trying to increase the footprint and the legacy that they leave in the region, no? Forming more people, capacitating more labs, and perhaps enabling in the future these other countries to contribute also in the hardware side and development of instrumentation to them.
Thank you. In the case of observatories, the really Latin American and the South has a special geographical and climate condition. but not necessarily in other field of science and technology. Uh, in this sense, how could this experience of Shuaibu be applied to nuclear fusion in order to build a bridge that works in both directions, symmetrical and mutually beneficial between Latin America and the global community?
So I guess that the translation of the experience of astrophysics or astroparticle physics is not so direct because, as I said, as you said, there is this advantage of the geography, yes? Nevertheless, I mentioned the question of CERN, the example of CERN, which I think is a good one to observe. But from the point of view of the fusion, I think we have to explore the other assets that the continent has to start with, which is the commodities, lithium, rare earths, the commodities that are fundamental for this business. And here, perhaps, and I was very glad, for example, to hear yesterday from one of the representatives of the mining industry that there is a law now that obliges that part of the revenues or the royalties of the lithium extraction be invested in science, in scientific development. So this is very important because this is a way of participating of in the business of fusion through the production of this, through the making these commodities available, but also making immediate returns that can contribute to the development of the field. So this is something that in Brazil we do since several decades with oil and gas and mining, in companies like Petrobras and Vale, and has been very successful for pushing science in many directions. The other thing that I think is important is, and perhaps here there are more convergences with what we tried to do with SWGO, is to start from the beginning to work together at a regional level. A lot of what we achieved, although our project, our detector concept for SWGO was mainly started in Brazil and the main partners were in Europe, we had a lot of support and continue to have a lot of exchanges with other Latin American countries in the development of that. So I think that to start to respond to this challenge of fusion as a region from the beginning increases the chances of Latin America and South America to arrive at the point of meaningful contributions and the possibility of internalizing and incorporating some of the breakthroughs and advances that are going to happen globally into the region. So I think that I would put the emphasis on this as well, working together from the beginning and having a policy of regional cooperation between the countries as soon as possible.
Thank you, Ulises. Mateo is connected yet? Not yet? Okay, no problem, because he sent me a WhatsApp that he will try to connect during the session. So we go to the second round. Thank you for your question. And now we go to the second round. Dr. Onjun, what specific commitment or idea would you propose to be incorporated into the conclusion of this conference for consideration in the Santiago Declaration? You answered this before, but probably now we have more ideas after the chair.
So, thank you very much. I think this morning I mentioned about the importance of the capacity building that should be emphasized in the Santiago Declaration. But I would like to add more in terms of I think it's really, we should emphasize one more thing about the opening up of our infrastructure to everyone and try to create more network together, and so that we can share learning from each other, and rather than trying to do the same thing, repeat the same development of the infrastructure, we trying to utilize that in more effective way, so that we can put our budget that is really limited in the more effective way. And for example, I think that we did mention previously about the joy experiment, for example. Like I think it is a wonderful idea, so that one can learn from each other and share the experience. And probably, for example, Thailand, we have the Tokamak TT1, and Brazil has the TC APR, right? And which is almost the same size. And probably we can figure out to to form the joy experiment, and then we can learn from one another, and that might be able to create a new important science. And that is the way that I think we can share and learn from each other and build the fusion community in the more strengthened way and very efficient way.
Thank you. Thank you. Professor Sir Stephen Cowley, the same question. What specific commitment or idea would you propose to be incorporated in the, or conclusion and in the conference for consideration in the Santiago Declaration? You hear me?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was muted. Sorry, I did hear you. I was just muted. Look, I think it would be very interesting to try and create a joint seminar series that we could push forward. We're doing this actually between Princeton and India at the moment, where once a month, I think. So you don't do it very often because you want to make a full commitment to it, etc. To actually have a joint seminar series, and we alternate speakers from the two sides. This, I think, is the kind of thing where we can expand our connections, with less cost. I think the bigger question is how we could work together to plan work on some of the big international facilities that are coming along. Right, ITER most definitely, and Princeton is building quite a lot of the diagnostic systems for ITER, so we could start some collaboration on that. And I think, and therefore, it's always good to get involved in the diagnostic system, because that means when it goes on the machine in the future, you will be the experts in the data that comes off that diagnostics. So I think that will be an interesting thing to discuss. There's obviously a lot of international politics around that we need to figure out. But I think that will be something we probably should follow up from this meeting on that. I think the other question of trying to actually get some reverse, some American scientists coming to do experiments in Chile, in Brazil, in South America, I think would be a really good thing, because often at the early career stage, because people develop relationships, intellectual relationships in their early career that survive their whole career, and that makes very much for cohesion between programs. I think this is something we need to discuss. We have an agreement to develop this with the IAEA. And so I'm actually looking for ways we can sort of expand that work. We have, as I say, several leaders in the lab who are from South America and would like to develop those things, and also reaching out here to Thailand and to say that we want to develop those relationships.
Thank you, thank you. Ulises, the same question for you, but you answered this question in a previous in a previous roundtable, but probably you have more ideas now. What specific commitment or idea would you propose to be incorporated into the conclusion of this conference for consideration in the Santiago Declaration?
So I don't think I have a new idea, and I'll be brief because I spoke a lot already in the previous round. But perhaps just emphasize something that I said, and something that actually you also said in your introduction. So there is something special, and this is something that I experienced with SWJO, but I'm also experiencing now within CLAF, of cooperating within the Global South. So what's called the South-South collaboration. Of course, the North-South collaboration is very useful for us because it helps us build capacity. But the South-South collaboration is very special because it puts us in partnership with other people that are facing similar challenges to the ones that we face. And these are not only the scientific challenges, which are common anywhere in the globe. I mean, the scientific questions are universal. But the difficulty to find funding and how to make this funding stable, the difficulty to work in a certain institutional environment that is not as favorable as the institutional environments that you find in the global north, or the difficulties of regulation, or for example, how you can apply funds to experiments that are abroad, which is a very serious problem that hinders the participation of Latin American countries in other experiments that are in the region but not within the countries. So these are problems that are particular to us. And if we are cooperating, we can discuss and find ideas to try to tackle them. And these are very specific to our reality many times. So the South-South cooperation is very instructive. And so it's like a walking together to solve these kinds of problems together. In this sense, what I would stress for the declaration or for the conclusion of the meeting is that it would be, again, extremely important that we as a region start to discuss and tackle together all the layers of problems that involve working with nuclear fusion, up to the way of actually producing fusion energy. So that we can together build the conditions within our countries and within our region to be able to exploit this technology when it's there. So this means involving the academia in dialogue with the industry from the various countries, not only from the individual countries we are in, and also the governments. There is a concept in science diplomacy which is called anticipatory science diplomacy, which is a new concept whereby the groups start to try to identify where are the challenges that are emerging through science for the future of the world. And there you can put nuclear fusion, you can put AI, CRISPR-Cas9, all these things that are transformational and will put challenges to the countries in various levels and to the relationship between countries in various levels. So I think that, and this is something that CLAF could help, I believe, if we could aim to create some form of forum or observatory where we put academia, industry, and governments to discuss at a more or less permanent for declaration the fact that it's extremely important to create instruments for tackling these challenges together. Our countries have capabilities, but alone they are many times weak to face the large challenges. But as a region, I think we can bring out more, and we can benefit the whole region. And I think if the whole region is benefited, the individual countries will have much more chance to progress as well.
Thank you, Ulises. Mateo is joining? No yet? No problem. We have time to open the panel for questions from the attendant, and if, of course, if have questions from the chat or from YouTube, and please, Jalach Jain, Jalas Chain is a member of our laboratory here in Chile Nuclear Energy Commission. Please, Jalas, present you.
Thank you. My name is Jalajan. I'm from India basically, and I'm working in the group of Professor Leopoldo Soto. So more than a question, it's kind of question with a comment about the possibility to introduce nuclear fusion as a national agenda in different countries. For example, if it is possible between Chile and USA or between Chile and Thailand or Brazil, that the government funding agencies can open this opportunity to apply for projects on both sides by the researcher of both sides, so that the researchers of these countries can collaborate on something like nuclear fusion.
Please, the panelists are free to answer the question.
Well, let me start. I think that's a very good idea. I think if you can bring up to in terms of the national level, that would enable the and facilitate the possibility of working together in more easy way, like some funding and some of the support from the government. I think that is pretty good idea. And but the key challenge, I think uh, I'm not sure about the other country, but for Thailand, in order to bring the like fusion issue into the national level is not easy due to um, the situation of the country, because of the when we talk about the fusion research is more like a very future energy, and it's not easy to talk with the politician for something that is really really far in the future. So that is a challenge to do. If we uh, try try to, if we can get their attention that fusion is very important and we should invest right now and start right now. If not, it will be too late for the country or something like that. That would be uh, uh, make this idea work really easy. Yeah.
Professor Cowley, please.
Well, these are not times in which the United States is spending a lot of energy on trying to make international agreements. But what I would say is that the private companies in fusion are looking for help. And so one way, for instance, we are working with the private companies, and we get some funding from the private companies, and we actually get matching funding from the US government to do work for private companies, is by reaching out to them and saying, how about we do that for you? I think what the US fusion budget every year is about 750-ish, 750 million dollars a year, right? We just saw $2.6 billion of investment into private fusion companies this last year. Finding ways in which the research programs in my lab overlap with those private companies has provided us with a new source of funding. And so I would love to have a government level agreement about, working with South America, with Thailand, etc. But that's not the way things are going in the US at the moment, right? Whether it should be or not, that's not my business to say. The way it is going at the moment is to support people supporting the private companies. And that becomes a source of income for research activities. We do large-scale simulations of Commonwealth fusions plasmas, for instance.
Thank you. Thank you. The CLAF, the Center Latin American of Physics, is an intergovernmental organization. So the question of Jalash could be perfect for you.
Yes. Yes, for sure. And I think that, I mean, in this conference, we have seen a good group of people with responsibility in the industry, people at the high levels of the administration, the government in Chile. And I think our duty is to start creating the conditions for continuing this dialogue. It's true that in a first contact, such topics can look distant for the government, but I think we have seen people here that are in the government ranks, that are in the high company ranks, and are aware and are interested in this discussion. So I guess that gives the condition to start. And as you said, Leopoldo, I think CLAF could play a role in convening this discussion, bringing partners from Brazil, Chile, Argentina is present here, other countries, Mexico, so that we could start this discussion. From the people that we have already seen, from the people that we have already engaged in this conference, so we can start this discussion. I think that's the way.
Thank you. Thank you. ¿Es connected? Mateo.
Sí, sí, Leo. Sí, sí, gracias.
Hi. I will do the question, the first round question and the second round question together, okay?
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay. The International Atomic Energy Agency has knowledge, science, and technology transfer program that generally operate from the global north to the global south, as well as south-south cooperation. Could you explain how this program works, what their main results have been, and whether there are examples where countries from the global south have transferred knowledge or technology to countries in the north?
Yeah, thank you, Leopoldo. So this is, I think, one of our main. The question is referring to one of our main programs, which is called technical. The organization to focus on both technology transfer and capacity building. So both, let's say, on the scientific and technical aspects of the human capacity building, but also on the actual technological components, parts, machines. So transfer and procurement of a specific technology, and including installing this technology and then training the local community on how to use it, if it's an experimental facilities, how to conduct experiments, extrapolate then the results from the experiments. So the program has a specific budget, which is it's assigned to it every 2 years. It's part of our regular program and budget process that we do on a biennial basis. I think this maybe the special one of the specific features of this program. It's also that it doesn't really, the negotiations on this part of the program, they don't really follow the regular budget negotiations, but there are specific. It follows a specific process through which countries decides to allot or assign funding depending on the needs that they identify at national level. So this become basically national strategies, national priorities that IAM member states identify, and so based on those, they allocate different funding to this program, which then the agency implements. It's through its departments. It's the administrative part of this program is done by one department specifically, which is the technical cooperation department. But because the program itself, it's technical and scientific in nature, and it requires consultations with countries and the IEA member states. It becomes a sort of a trilateral process where you have a department at the agency who's doing competencies or technology transfer in nuclear safety and security. It will be with the Department of Nuclear Safety and Security, and then you have the other stakeholder of this triangle, which becomes the country itself. So we enter the negotiations basically with the country, with the local authorities, and together we define specifically what the activity will be in that specific nation. So it is that's why it's trilateral, because there's two departments at least at the agency involved, and then there's the consultation with the country. It can also be, the program can not only serve one nation, one single nation. It can also target specific regions, so it can become a regional program. And in other cases, it can also become an interregional. So some of these projects then end up being also across different regions, and that's what we call interregional projects. Yeah, so this is a pretty old mechanism. I think it was it's been in place at the agency for over 30 years. It's one of our most successful mechanisms of transfer, as I said, and there are many examples I think that can be quoted. They go from examples, as I mentioned, in nuclear energy, nuclear power plants, research reactors, right? These are machines. The trigger reactor, for example, it's a notorious example of machines of technology that has been transferred to this technology cooperation program. But they also apply to nuclear affecting food and which is it's a technique which is done, of course, with it's a sterilization that it is performed through nuclear techniques and nuclear technology, then basically allows countries to get rid of insects which are then affecting their food and their agricultural capabilities. Yeah, say of course, likewise in human health, when we talk about radiology, nuclear medicine. So yeah, the list is can be very long.
Thank you, Matteo.
There was another part, I think, of your question I perhaps I didn't address, or okay, no, there I can see there was a follow-up question. No, okay, then I'll leave it to you, Leopoldo. Sorry.
Thank you. How does the International Atomic Energy Agency envision supporting Latin America and the Caribbean in developing a regional plan for nuclear fusion?
Oh, good question. So we have been focusing specifically in this region through the practical arrangements that we have signed in 2022 with the Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory. This was one of our main objectives was to ramp up this kind of engagement, and I think this conference is one of the results. Of course, I'm really happy to see Director Kali here on the call. We have had a series of consultations with as you know, with representatives from the region over the past 3 years. Since 2022, we have had calls, of course, with Chile, with colleagues in Mexico, in Brazil, and we realized also that there was a need for reconnecting the community, which is, of course, has been active, and there are efforts like the Latin America Plasma Physics Workshop that have been recurring for decades. An easy way for us to stimulate and encourage this network to reconnect and further engage was the establishment of a webinar series that we also did together with PPL, where we hosted already two webinars. One was Chile, was Sichen, Leopoldo, and the other one was with Brazil. with the University of Sao Paulo, with Gustavo Canal. So these are some of the other activities that are continue to encourage engagement with Latin America on fusion are, of course, the Fusion Energy Conference that we organize every 2 years, where we have tried to stimulate participation from the region, including having a Pro committee member in the conference from that region. Yeah, so these are some of the initiatives that we have tried to focus on the last years.
Thank you, Mateo. And now the second round, the common question for all the panelists. What specific commitment or idea would you propose to be incorporated into the conclusion of this conference for consideration in the Santiago Declaration? Mateo, you hear me?
Yes. I can start. I wasn't sure you wanted me. You wanted me to start. You wanted me to start with the suggestions. So I think on this topic of fusion as a bridge between Latin America and the world, I would expect from a declaration. I expect to see some common understanding and common agreement on declaration on the need for Latin America to engage as a whole, as a region in fusion research and development. I'm sure you have discussed that there are indeed capabilities in various areas across the region, and of course it would be a pity if the engagement is done in isolation. The region, of course, would be much stronger if there could be a network, a concrete network established between all the labs, as you have done with CLAF and the fusion unit, with which we're very happy of this establishment, and we're very happy to engage with. So yeah, I would encourage in the declaration to see some language on the importance of collaboration within the region, stronger collaboration and coordination, ultimately within the region on fusion, so that it is the actual engagement outside of Latin America can become stronger and more convenient, productive for the region. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mateo. Now we open again the session for questions from the attendants. Ivan Vargas from Costa Rica.
We cannot hear.
Yes.
No.
Ivan Vargas from Costa Rica. Mateo, good to see you.
Yeah. Hola, Ivan.
Oh. I would like to know if IAA are continue to organize the technical meeting on a small fusion device, because this event we could organize in Latin America many times. And I would like to know too about the coordinated research project related with the network of a small fusion device. If this will be open again. And finally, I would like to know if IAA will continue to support the summer school in fusion in Latin America.
Yeah, thank you, Ivan. So you're raising lots of I think lots of important points that yeah, I didn't mention, of course, we can do this now. So one thing I forgot also to highlight is that we have since I believe since 2018 we have had a representative from Latin America in the International Fusion Research Council, which is it's a body, it's an advisory body that serves to advise the IAEA on fusion, but it's also been a catalyst in fusion energy research and collaboration since the 70s. So it has been a very important council, which over the years has proposed various initiatives, including, in some sense, also the ITER projects. The ITER project was envisioned within this framework as early as the 1970s, and since 2018 we've had a representative from Latin America, and that's Ivan Vargas from Costa Rica. So that's also another way of we have tried to further engage the region and getting the region more involved. Ivan has mentioned what we call coordinated research projects, or CRPs. This is another important mechanism for us of bringing together developing and developed countries together under a research theme. We have had one historically. We have had one project, one CRP on small and medium-sized magnetic fusion machines that have served as a catalyst, but also as a point of touch as a leverage for many of this many countries or labs with small machines to come together and first of all develop joint activities. But I think for us, what I like to usually highlight as the important added value of this mechanism is the strategic component. This CRP, this coordinated research projects for countries like Chile or others, they serve as propeller for national support. They're similar to what in the US is happening, for example, with what has happened with the cost share NASA program, or with the milestone based development program that has been put in place for fusion, where companies apply to this program trying to receive seed money support from the government. And the important component there is not per se the small amount of money that they receive from the government, but it's the recognition they receive, right? And the confidence that this builds to the investors, for example. So for us, I think CRPs are the equivalent. It is not for the amount of money that the agency is able to provide to the applicant, because it's always limited funding, but it's for the recognition, and then at a national level, it is for these labs a sort of a way of gaining national attention and then further support from the governments. So the CRPs are a very important tool, I think, to also promote research and development in developing countries and expose them to the developed, to the work of the developed countries, and so also further enlarge and strengthen their network. So thank you, Ivan, for the question, because it helped me also bring or share the role of the CRPs in this case. And just now to answer your question, yes, we're looking into restarting the CRP by the end of this year, early next year. So we are now starting to draft the new CRP framework. And we do continue the support of the schools. Steve, you want to come in? I see.
No, unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave
okay.
in a moment, because I have another meeting. But thank you very much for letting me address you. And these are very good questions. And I'm looking forward to developing a stronger relationship. So thank you very much, Leopoldo. Thank you, Matteo. And thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much, Professor Cowley. Thank you.
Yeah, so some of the schools, in the two of the last editions of the schools that we organize in Trieste, every year have also been they've been quite successful, and we've also had Leopoldo joining us, and PPPL also been supporting with lecturing. So I think so. There's some there's the right people, I think, around the table in this conference to continue and to continue this efforts, and to make sure that Latin America is at the center of our activities.
Thank you, Mateo. Wait, Jalash. Yeah. If another question from the room. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Jan Medina. I come from the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile. And, well, we have seen throughout these 2 days of conference the importance that material science has regarding fusion. And taking that into account, I would like to know what is the position of the panel regarding the inclusion of a strategy in order to show or define the options in nuclear fusion, especially in materials related subjects for multidisciplinary approaches, because most of the people I have seen during the conference and working with, what is your position regarding that?
Thank you. Very good question. Who won't answer that? Mateo?
Paul, I had trouble. Can you summarize it? I had trouble with the audio. Can you
Yes,
give me like
yes,
the short version?
Yes, the question is how involved the material science and chemistry in the research,
Fusion
of
research.
fusion research.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely today it is not like the one of the main focus of attention. It's not one of the of those areas where there's a lot of effort being put, which is a reflection of simply where we've been focusing over the last 20, 30 years. Much of the work has gone in I would say in the plasma physics, right, of any type of concept. But today, at least, I mean, over the last 5 years or so, there's been more and more also as a sort of we're trying to move also to we're trying to focus the attention also to material science, to plasma chemistry, so we're to the engineering aspects of fusion. So it is, I think, a field in development, and on the academic side, it is now perhaps receiving more attention, so which translates into more funding, and therefore more activity, more publication. So I think it's on the rise. But it's certainly, it hasn't been, it's a field that still needs to develop for the reasons that we have discussed.
Dr. Onjun?
Yeah, I would like to add a little bit. I think I really agree with Matteo that I think the fusion is on the rise, meaning that I mean, we talk more about the fusion, and we expect that the fusion to come earlier than we expected before. So I think that with that means it brings a lot of people from different fields to come to work, material science, in terms of the engineering and so on. So I think with the fusion issue is really complex and really challenging. And so it's required people from different fields to work together in order to get it through, get it to work. And so I I believe this is what we need, and we are going in the right approach. And I think with the more innovative approach that we can see in the startup company, you can see that I think it's the new idea come from different field, different concept, different background, and I think we are coming in the right way, and I think this is going very well, I think.
Thank you, Dr. Onjun. We have time for one question from the attendant. Yeah, Jalach again.
If nobody else, then I. Okay. So I'm
Please,
Jalaj
please
again. That the students and researchers can go and gain experience with that machine and can produce some new ideas for new devices. Because as far as I know or I understood, that physics or any kind of idea is just about exploration. So as much as you explore yourself, you can produce new ideas. That's my question. Thank you.
Maybe I can comment. So it's a pity that Gustavo is not here anymore. I think he would have some things to add. But I mean, he mentioned in his panel about the successful model that was adopted by Brazil and Argentina with the multi-purpose reactor, which was a twin project. So the cost of design of the reactor was shared between Brazil and Argentina, and the two countries joined efforts to work together on that. And then each country is building one twin version of this reactor and working together. So this is certainly an interesting thing. Now Brazil, as Gustavo also said, is developing a national laboratory with a new tokamak for fusion. And I think perhaps the opportunity there, rather than building a new laboratory, a new regional laboratory or international laboratory or machine, is to see how can we integrate the region around this new facility that will be built, and try to bring actively researchers to participate in this new venture with Brazil. So I think there is potential for a dialogue there, and we should explore.
Yes, thank you. Now we have the coffee, and not yet. Not yet. What we have now? Closing remark immediately, without coffee. Okay. Well, yes. Thanks again, Ulises, for your participation. Thanks, Professor Onjun. Thank you very much to Mateo, to
Here, okay. Thank you to all the panelists for a truly inspiring discussion on global collaboration. This brings us to the culmination of our conference. And as we draw to a close, we will now move to our closing remarks and final reflections. This segment will include a summary of the key conclusions drawn from our discussion over the past 2 days, along with proposals for follow-up actions and regional initiatives. So I invite Dr. Luis Huerta and Dr. Leopoldo Soto to make these final conclusions, please.
Thank you. We have receiving, the organization committee was preparing the summaries of the discussion and all of the session, and we have received a proposal in the field of science, in the field of government policy, and in the field of industry, and also a proposal for action together. And the more important have been the capacity building, sharing infrastructure, and share people, etc. So I give you the yeah, to our director. I am a little bit tired with my mind is not present.
Thank you, Leopoldo. Um, First of all, in order not to forget it, I want to thank the Sechen team that have made possible this conference to be held. Barbara, Carlos, Romy, Andrés, Diego, Gabriela, Leonardo, Mirta. I don't know if I'm forgetting someone,
Daniel.
but I think they are. Daniel. Se ríe, estaba esperando. And Daniel. Okay, thank you very much for your job. Very good job. Very important to be successful in this endeavor, in this, the first conference on fusion to link academia, industry, and government in different meetings and debates. Well, we have talked about global south, global north. This is not a war, of course. We are not talking about a war between the north and the south. This is the search of this is the search of cooperation between both parts of the planet, but not in asymmetrical terms. It is the main emphasis in this meeting, but symmetrical terms, and each one providing what can provide. However, as I said before, we have the responsibility to make this possible. No one will offer a position for us in the global fusion energy endeavor. We have to earn it. For that, our conclusions, which will be reflected in the Declaration of Santiago, must emphasize what we have to do in our countries to generate the right policies to put us in the fusion research. This means many things, but especially the emphasis of this conference to create links between academia, government, and industry. And we have to do that together in a concerted way. Our regional scientific communities must do what is necessary in every country of this Latin America and Global South. We have received some tips these days about what we have to do to involve all the possible stakeholders in the entire value chain. This is very important. Everyone must be here, not only scientists, not only policymakers, everyone together to legitimate socially this dream, maybe, to put it in concrete terms, must be legitimate socially. To offer short-term revenues. That was Gustavo Canal told us about the initiative in Brazil. we have to offer short-term results in order to get support, to train the new generations of scientists and professionals. Professor from, I don't remember the name of the Indian told that.
Yes,
to introduce gender equity. It's very important. We know, I wanted to say to Jerónimo Verdugo, who put the point yesterday, that there, in this field, not only there are few women, we all are few in this field. This field, we have very few people in the fusion research field, but of course, more or less, less women. We have to introduce gender equity in the equation. And we have to relevate public national laboratories as Sechen, as the different public laboratories in Latin America. They are very important. They can make possible the public policies. We need a diagnosis of our potential capabilities and their relationship to global challenges. Not only the mainstream challenges, no, but also the marginal ones, which are still challenging and interesting. Those close to our potential capabilities. This diagnosis will tell us what we must do to achieve the goals. Furthermore, we must address the entire value chain. We said we need entrepreneurship, and to do so, we must stimulate the private productive sector with development instruments. And we need long-term policies with long-term deadlines. Even we need short-term revenues, as I said. I insist, we don't have to address all the issues, but only some, with solid and sustainable policies. In Chile, that means in the government a mandate for the Ministry of Economy. Some of our countries are close to presidential elections. Chile is close to a presidential election. Maybe this is an opportunity to bring new ideas. We must speak with the current presidential candidates to generate that new vision we need, or unless the debate for the country of the coming years. This is what we have to do today to reflect your ideas, the ideas we have shared these days in order to write and sign this Declaration of Santiago. We have to choose what we think could be the best way to achieve the goals we have discussed these days. And finally, I want to thank, on behalf of our institution, the Chilean Nuclear Energy Commission, our professionals here, and finally, to thank Leopoldo to have been the chairman we needed for this very important conference that make us very happy to have held these days. Thank you.
So, maybe some of the people from different countries of Chile could be say something. No?
Iván.
Iván, yes.
Well, first of all, I would like to give my congratulations, Leopoldo, as chairman of this event and chairman of the CLAF Nuclear Fusion Unit. And thanks to Luis and all the CHN team to organize this important event. I consider a good strategy, well, Luis mentioned this before, but I consider that good strategy is to replicate this event in the rest of the country that are member of the CLAF nuclear fusion unit, because we can stay close the industry and government in each country, and after that create a group of the country in Latin America that they can promote nuclear fusion in this region.
Thanks, Ivan. Now, Julio, please. Julio Herrera from Mexico.
To point out that this meeting was a move in the right direction of having a joint effort between science, government, and industry. I would like to tell an anecdote that I had in Mexico during the presentation of a book on energy sources. One subsecretary of energy was present, and somebody asked him why they didn't give more support to energy sources. And his reply was, well, we know already what happens when we give money to academicians. They will publish papers, they will organize meetings, they will supervise dissertations, and nothing will come out of it. And of course, this is a mindset that we need to change. Also, we need to have a better understanding with industry, since we have very different ways of thinking, and it's very important to break this barrier. I think that several of you have been able to show that it's possible here. Also, I would like to point out a couple of technical points. While Stephen colleague told us about the achievements of ITER, for instance, in which they have got this 57 megajoule shot or something like that in 5 seconds. He didn't point out that 40% of the energy comes from actual thermonuclear reactions, and the rest comes from beam target effect. So in future experiments, this has got to evolve. And also there's another important point that is usually not mentioned, and it's that the performance, if you measure the performance as the triple product of density, energy confinement time, and temperature, it usually goes down for longer charges. For instance, in the West and East experiments, they have reached around 20 minutes, but it always comes down. Then the accelerator community claims that at that point, accelerators perform just as well as tokamaks, except that the problem is that the performance is very low. So it's important to achieve better performances for longer shots. That's something that hasn't been tested. And the other point is that up to now, there has been no burning plasma experiment in the sense that at least 50% of the heating comes from alpha particles. And we don't really know what will happen once these burning plasmas are tested. So there's still a lot of although we sometimes get the impression that practically all the physics we need to know is already known. There's still a lot to find in plasma physics. And also, it was been acknowledged in this meeting that not all plasma physics is fusion, and not all fusion is plasma physics. And there is a lot of opportunity in that sense. One other point that I think that should be taken into account is that we should involve the commitment of those scientists working abroad, of Latin American scientists working abroad in this effort, since they are a very important resource. So, thank you.
Thank you, Julio. Felipe Veloso.
Okay, I think there is another point that should be, I think, included somehow. Is a common problem that we face most of Latin America, all Latin American countries, which is the lack of resources for attending conferences and travels and so on and so forth. And I think the idea that Stephen Cowley said about the online journal, online seminars, it's a really clever idea to do that, but also to not replicate existing ideas. For instance, we have the Latin American Workshop in Plasma Physics, which already has a school as well. We can include or maybe point out fusion things, particularly fusion things, on the Latin American Workshop and the school as well, in order to assure to use that conference when the people from Latin America attend. Because we also must think that we need to go also to worldwide conference like the APS or IEEE or FEC or whatever. So to consider these online resources as well as complementing the existing one, like the Latin American Workshop in Plasma Physics, I think it's something that should be taken into account somehow. That's it.
Thank you, Felipe. Some other opinion, comments? Now I can say thank you. Thank you to all the people come here from different countries. I am really, really, really happy with your commitment. Yeah, when we propose this, you immediately trust in this idea. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to the people of the Chilean Nuclear Energy Commission. Strong group was working in the organization, and thanks a lot. Thank you.
And finally, we do invite you to join us for last one opportunity to network and reflect on the conference. Please enjoy the final coffee break. Thank you all of you.